Amaka stood in front of the grand mirror of the lavish fashion gala, adjusting her shimmering golden dress. The air was filled with the clinking of glasses, the hum of conversations, and the sound of the orchestra playing in the background. Her eyes glittered with determination. She had worked hard for this moment. She had built her name in the fashion industry from the scratch. Yet, despite her success, she felt a void, an ache she couldn't quite define. Amaka, you look absolutely stunning, her friend Nkechi exclaimed, wrapping her arms around Amaka's shoulder. But something was missing. Amaka raised an eyebrow, wondering where the conversation was going. What do you mean? You know? Love a man. You need someone to match your brilliance, Nkechi teased, nudging her playfully. Amaka rolled her eyes, and here I thought we were going to talk about my design, she smirked. But deep down, Amaka couldn't help but agree. For the past few months, she's been dealing with nothing but cheating broke men who lacked ambition. The idea of a strong, successful partner seemed like an unattainable dream. That's it until it appeared. Across the room, standing by the edge of the crowd, was Chief Dike, tall, handsome, and enigmatic, dressed in a perfectly tailored suit. His silver hair, striking features, and air of confidence commanded attention. He was in his 50s, but his physique and charms made him look so much younger. As their eyes met, Amaka's heart skipped a beat. There was something magnetic about him. Without missing a beat, he walked over. Amaka, I presume. His voice was deep, soft and smooth, with a hint of something almost regal. She felt herself flush. Yes, and you are? I am Chief Dike. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. Your designs are magnificent, he said, his smile warm but with a mysterious edge. Amaka blinked in surprise. You've seen my work? Only the best, he replied with a wink. She chuckled. Well, thank you, but I must admit, I'm surprised someone like you knows who I am. He laughed softly, his eyes twinkling. I make it my business to know the best, Miss Amaka. They spent the next hours in deep conversation, the chemistry between them undeniable. It felt as if the rest of the room had disappeared, and they were the only two people who existed. His charm, wisdom, and worldliness captivated her, and she found herself drawn to him in a way she hadn't expected. As the night went on, Chief Dike, with his elegant mannerism, invited Amaka to dinner the following week. I'd like to get to know the woman behind the designs. How about a private dinner? Amaka hesitated for a moment. Was she making a mistake? But the allure of the mysterious billionaire was too strong to resist. I like that, she said. A week later, Amaka found herself boarding a private jet to Dubai. Her first experience of a life she had only dreamed of. The whole trip felt like something out of a fairy tale. Luxury hotels, five-star meals, exclusive parties, and a private shopping trip. Amaka couldn't believe how quickly everything was happening. As the days passed, Amaka began to see Chief Dike in a different light. Despite his age, he seemed vibrant and full of life. He showered her with gifts, whispered sweet things in her ears, and took her to the most exclusive places in the world. And the best part, he listened to her, really listened to her dreams and aspirations. No man had ever treated her with so much care and understanding. On the fourth day of the trip, as they stood in the balcony of a luxurious penthouse, gazing out at the glittering skyline of Dubai, he asked, Amaka, will you do me the honor of becoming my wife? Amaka's breath caught in her throat. Wait, what? She stammered. Chief Dike reached out into his pocket and pulled out a velvet box, opening it to reveal a massive diamond ring. I have known you for less than a week, but in that time, I've come to realize that I can't imagine my life without you. Will you marry me? Amaka's heart raced. She never imagined this moment would come so soon, especially with someone like him. Yes, she found herself saying the words she never thought she would say. Yes, yes, I will. The wedding was nothing short of a spectacle, held at one of the most beautiful estates on the outskirts of Abuja. The event was attended by the elite of Nigerian society. Everything was extravagant, golden chandeliers, orchestras playing, exquisite floral arrangements, and guests who seemed as though they stepped out of a fairy tale. Amaka could hardly believe that this was her life now. She was now married to Chief Dike, a billionaire, someone who could give her everything she had ever dreamed of. But as the celebration continued, she noticed something subtle, strange things. After the wedding, they moved into Chief Dike's private estate, a sprawling mansion located at the outskirts of Abuja, surrounded by high walls and private security. The house was beautiful, but there was something off about it. The staff were polite but distant, avoiding eye contact as if they feared her. Amaka brushed it off, thinking that she was just overthinking things. But the unease didn't even stop there. Chief Dike, always kind and attentive, had strange habits. Every night at exactly 2 a.m., he would leave their bedroom saying he needed to pray. Amaka would lie in bed staring at the clock, waiting for him to return. And when he did, he would smell faintly of incense and something else, something oddly, blood. At first, Amaka didn't question it. It was a man of faith after all. But as the days passed, her curiosity grew. Then, one stormy afternoon, Amaka's puppy Max dashed out of the door and into the rain-soaked garden. She ran after him barefoot and drenched, her heart pounding. She reached the garden, calling for him, but he was nowhere to be seen. That was when she noticed it. The garden seemed unusually quiet, almost too quiet. Max's barking suddenly stopped, and Amaka's eyes widened when she saw something that made her heart skip a beat. 6 small graves arranged neatly in the corner of the garden. They were identical, with white roses placed on top of each. She approached them cautiously, her mind racing. The plaque on each grave was simple, but the names were what made her blood run cold. She wiped off the dirt off one of the plaques and read aloud in disbelief. Adaeze Dike, beloved wife, 2011 to 2016. Her hands trembled as she read the date, 2011 to 2016, the same years Chief Dike had mentioned when he spoke of his first wife's death in a car accident. The wind howled as the rain picked up, but Amaka stood frozen in place, staring at the graves. She thought her heart would stop. The names, the dates, everything was eerie close to her own wedding date. Suddenly, she heard something, a noise, a soft, delicate cry. Amaka spun around, but saw no one. The air was thick with tension, and she could swear she felt eyes watching her. A shadow darted across the garden in the corner of her vision. "Hello," she called out, her voice quivering, but there was no response. No one came forward. Amaka stood frozen in the rain, her mind spinning. She couldn't breathe. The weight of what she had just discovered sank into her chest, tightening like a vice. A shadow moved behind her. Someone was watching her. The air grew colder, and Amaka's heart began to race. The world returned her in fragments. Cold death, a stinging pain in her throat, then soft light flickered behind her eyelids. Amaka couldn't shake the image of 6 graves in the backyard. Every time she closed her eyes, the names of the women who had come before her flashed before her eyes. Adaeze, Zainab, Chiamaka, each name etched into her mind like a brand. Their faces from the wedding photo now haunted her thoughts. All of them had once been there before her, newlyweds, full of hope but now dead. Her peaceful world was unraveling, and with each day passing, the unease inside of her grew. Chief Dike had been perfect until now. Now he was the very thing she feared most. He was a monster, and worse, she had walked right into his trap. Every night, he left her alone, slipping away to pray at the same hour, and she started to believe that his strange habits were not just out of religious devotion. Something was terribly wrong. One evening, she couldn't take it anymore. She needed answers. As soon as Chief Dike went into his nightly ritual, Amaka slipped quietly into his study, a room she had never dared to enter before. The door creaked as she pushed it open, her heart pounding in her chest. The study was filled with books, expensive artifacts, and a large oak desk. She knew Chief Dike was protective of his personal space, but she was desperate. She walked over to the desk and carefully began opening drawers, her fingers trembling. The first one was filled with expensive stationery and family heirlooms, nothing unusual. But then, in the bottom drawer, she found it, a large old leather-bound book, its cover worn and faded. The Ritual of the Seven. The title read, written in bold red ink. Amaka's hand shook as she flipped through the pages. The handwriting inside was frantic, the ink smudged as if the writer had been hurriedly doing it. As she read, her stomach sank. The words detailed a chilling tradition, one that was passed down through generations. In Chief Dike's family, the book spoke of sacrifices and marriages, describing the ritualistic death of the previous wives. Amaka read the words again, barely able to comprehend what they meant. 7 wives, 7 sacrifices, one final bride to end the course, she muttered under her breath. But then she came across the most disturbing part. One entry stood out. Wife number 7, Amaka, the final sacrifice. Her breath caught in her throat. The hairs on her neck stood. This wasn't just a coincidence. Chief Dike had planned this from the very beginning. She was a pawn in his twisted game. Amaka's hand trembled violently as she flipped through more pages, each one revealing another horrifying fact. The 6 women before her had all died mysteriously, right after their wedding anniversaries. The deaths they officially ruled as accidents, car crashes, falls, illnesses, but Amaka now knew better. These women hadn't died by accident. They had been part of a sacrifice to ensure Chief Dike's wealth and power. With shaking hands, Amaka pulled out a photograph from between the pages of the book. It was an old picture, framed in gold, showing Chief Dike standing next to each of his former wives at their wedding. They all wore smiles, but something was terribly wrong. Their eyes were empty, vacant, as if their souls had already been taken. Amaka slammed the book shut, a chill crawling up her spine. The room seemed to grow colder, the walls closing in on her. The reality of what she was reading was too much to bear. She wasn't just his wife, she was the final sacrifice, the last woman in a long line of women who had perished to keep his power intact. That night, she couldn't sleep, her mind raced, her thoughts a whirlwind of fear and disbelief. She had to confront him. She had to know if this was truly what was happening, or if she was just losing her mind. The following evening, she found the courage to face him. The mansion was eerie quiet, the staff absent as if they knew what was coming. She marched into the living room, her heart pounding in her chest. Chief Dike was sitting on the larger leather sofa, reading a book. Chief Dike, Amaka began, her voice steady, despite the fear rising in her chest. We need to talk. He looked up, his expression unreadable. What is it, Amaka? You look troubled. I'm not troubled. I am angry. She tossed the leather-bound book onto the coffee table. What is this? Why did you marry me? Was I just another ritual to you? Chief Dike remained calm, his eyes narrowing as he glanced at the book. You are asking the wrong questions, Amaka, he said softly. You need to understand. I didn't want this for you. I didn't want you to become part of this cursed family. But you're already a part of it now, and there's no escaping. Amaka's chest tightened. No, no, I won't accept this. I won't be your sacrifice. He sighed, leaning back into the sofa, his eyes locked in hers. The ritual must be completed, Amaka. It is the only way. Once we reach 7, the cycle is finished. But you, he hesitated, his voice dropping. You are special. You are the final wife, the last sacrifice. A cold shiver ran down her spine. What are you talking about? You are telling me I'm going to die like all of them? His face darkened. I don't want it, Amaka, but it's beyond me now. The curse has bound us all. The gods demand the 7th wife's soul, and once they get it, the cycle will be completed. Amaka's mind raced. Was this really happening? Was she just a pawn in some ancient demonic ritual? She couldn't accept it. There had to be a way out. Then what? You will kill me too? Her voice trembled with rage. Is that what you are saying? He stood up abruptly, his eyes flashing with something cold and unforgiving. If you want to leave, you can. But at what cost? You will never be free of this, Amaka. Not unless the ritual is completed. You will always be haunted, always being the one who escaped but could never truly get away. Amaka's breath hitched. The finality in his voice was terrifying. She felt trapped, suffocated in a gilded cage, determined to find some sort of solution. Amaka visited the local library the next day. She found an old historian who knew about Dike's family past. He looked at her strangely, his eyes darkening, when she asked about Chief Dike's ancestors. Ah, the Dike family? The historian's voice dropped to a whisper. That family has been cursed for centuries. Their wealth came at a great price. You see, centuries ago, they made a pact with an ancient deity in exchange for an unimaginable riches. But the price was steep, the blood of 7 wives, each sacrificed to the gods at the peak of their beauty and youth. Maka's heart pounded. So you are saying that all these things are true, that they have been sacrificing their wives? The historian nodded grimly. Yes, the family's wealth is cursed. The pact demands it, and the last wife, the seventh, is the one who must die to complete the cycle. Amaka left the library in a daze, feeling as though the walls were closing in on her. She was trapped in a nightmare, with no way out. Back at the mansion, the air felt thicker. The house was more oppressive. She tried to leave, but the gates were locked. Her phone had no signal. The servant seemed even more distant than before, and the security guard warned her again in his low voice, "Don't go near the garden at night, ma'am." Amaka's sense of fear grew. The mansion, once her dream home, now felt like a prisoner. Her own husband had turned into a monster, and she had no one to trust. That night, Chief Dike came to her, his voice softer than before. "You are the one who will break the curse, Amaka. But first, you must understand, the rituals need to be completed." Amaka stared at him, her heart racing. Could she escape, or was she doomed to be the seventh sacrifice? Amaka, desperate to get away, sneaked out into the garden at midnight, flashlight in her hand. She ran towards the deceased grave, but as she reached the final one, she saw something that sent chills to her bone. Another grave has been dug, freshly dug with dirt piled high, and the name on the plug is hers. Suddenly, a cold hand gripped her shoulder. "It's already too late," a voice whispered in her ears. Amaka stood in the garden, frozen in place, her breath catching in her throat as a cold hand gripped her shoulder. Slowly, she turned around, heart pounding in her chest. There, standing in the shadows, was Chief Dike, his tall figure outlined against the eerie glow of the moon. His face, usually warm and charming, was now a mask of cold indifference. "You can't run, Amaka," he said in a soft, almost detached voice. "It's already begun." Her voice reeled as the grave behind her seemed to mock her, its freshly dug earth threatening to swallow her whole. The plague with her name. Her name was the final piece in the nightmarish puzzle. She opened her mouth to scream, but no sound came out. The ground beneath her felt like it was shifting, as if the very earth was alive, conspiring against her. "What do you mean?" she whispered, her voice cracking. "I don't want to be part of this. I didn't sign up for any of this." Chief Dike stepped forward, his eyes dark and cold. "You have always been part of it, Amaka. I had no choice. The course must be completed. You were chosen long before I met you." Amaka staggered backward, her feet slipping in the wet grass. She looked at the 6 graves, each one a tombstone of another life lost. Each woman had once been here. She was before now, full of hope, full of dreams, until they weren't. The gods demand it. The seventh wife completes the circle. Chief Dike continued, his voice now barely above a whisper, the wind carrying his words into the night. "And that wife is you." Her blood ran cold as the weight of his words sank in. She was trapped. There was no way of escaping this nightmare. The secret of the ritual. That night, as Amaka was in her bedroom, the chilling truth began to piece itself together in her mind. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't think of anything but the book she had found in Chief Dike's study. The book titled The Ritual of the Seven. The pages she had read. The ritual wasn't just about death. It was about power. It was about control. The 6 women before her had died, But they weren't just killed, they had been sealed into the land itself. Their spirits were bound to the earth, their souls trapped, ensuring that the Dike's family's fortune would last forever. The seventh wife, that was her. She was supposed to die to complete the circle, but not before being used to replace the soul of the ancient deity who had cursed the Dike family in exchange for wealth. Amaka's mind spun as she realized what this meant. This wasn't just about her life, it was about the sacrifice of her soul, and she would never let that happen. But there was no way out. She had to kill Chief Dike before he killed her. Only then could the curse be broken, and the family circle finally ended. Over the next few days, Amaka meticulously planned her escape. She couldn't confront him directly. He was too powerful, too cunning. But Amaka had one advantage: his arrogance. He believed the ritual was foolproof. He thought he was untouchable. So she played along. She pretended to be dutiful, loving wife. Every night she listened carefully to his plans for the final ceremony. His belief that once she accepted her role in the ritual, she would be free. The more she listened, the more she understood him. But the more Amaka played the part, the more she noticed something changing in his eyes. He was becoming more aware of her defiance. The tension between them built as days passed. Chief Dike, ever confident, invited her to a special ceremony that would mark the beginning of the final phase of the ritual. Tonight, he finalized everything. He told her, with a twisted smile, it was the moment she had been waiting for. The mansion was eerie quiet as Amaka followed Chief Dike into the grand hall. The thick air was heavy with an ancient sense of finality. Candles flickered on every surface, casting long shadows across the walls. The full moon bathed the room in an unnatural light. It felt like the walls themselves were holding their breath, waiting for what was to come. Tonight, we complete the ritual, Chief Dike said, placing a heavy golden necklace around her neck. The weight of the necklace seemed to settle on her shoulders like an invisible chain. It was a symbol of her unity with the family, a symbol of the curse that had been placed upon her. Amaka felt the heat of the dagger she had hidden in her dress, the cold metal that had been passed down through generations of the Dike's family. She had prepared for this moment for days. Her fingers tightened around the hilt, and just as Chief Dike stepped back, she seized her opportunity. With all the strength she could muster, she plunged the ceremonial dagger into his side. For a moment, everything went still. Chief Dike gasped, his eyes wide with shock and rage. Blood spilled from the wound, staining the fine silk of his robe. He staggered back, clutching his side. You? You think you can end this? He spat, his voice barely above a whisper. Blood dripped from his lips, but his eyes still glowed with a terrifying power. You can't kill me, Amaka. You can't kill what you don't understand. Amaka's hands were shaking, but her resolve remained firm. I don't want your curse word, she said, her voice trembling, but resolute. I want my life back. The mansion around them began to tremble. The walls groaned as though the house itself was alive. Amaka watched in horror as Chief Dike's face contorted with agony. The ritual was unraveling. The curse was breaking. But then something unimaginable happened. Amaka's heart skipped a beat as she realized that she had made a terrible mistake. This wasn't just about wealth. Chief Dike wasn't the one keeping the curse alive. He was the cause. The moment she struck him, the true nature of the ritual was revealed. His body began to transform before her eyes. His skin turned deathly pale, his veins darkening as though something ancient was taking hold of him. His eyes, once cold but human, now glowed with an otherworldly light. His face twisted with a grotesque mask of rage and despair. The ground beneath them cracked open, revealing a deep, fiery underworld. Maka realized with horror that she had triggered the final phase of the ritual. The mansion seemed to shake and tremble around them, as if, too, were trying to break free from the curse. The walls began to buckle, the floor splitting open in jagged cracks. The truth hit her like a bolt of lightning. The ritual wasn't about keeping the family's wealth. It was about transferring the deity's soul into the seventh wife. Chief Dike, wasn't just some evil man keeping a dark secret. He was a cause, a human vessel for the God's power. By killing him, she had unwittingly released the God who now sought to take her soul in his place. With the mansion crumbling around her, Amaka understood what she had to do. She wasn't just going to escape the cause, she was going to end it once and for all. She had to destroy the source. Amaka ran to the grand fireplace. Without hesitation, she grabbed a handful of tinder and set the curtains on fire. The flames quickly spread, licking at the wooden beams, consuming the mansion. The mansion, the source of the cause, began to burn. She ran out of the room, her heart racing as the heat from the flames pushed her forward. She could hear Chief Dike scream, his body written in the otherworldly transformation. But she didn't look back. Outside, she stood on the hill, bruised, bloodied but alive. The mansion behind her burned to the ground. The flames devoured the walls, the floors, everything that had held the cause together. She was free, but as she watched the inferno consume the mansion, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, her hands trembling. It was a message from an unknown number. The curse will return. You cannot escape the gods forever. Amaka stared at the message, her breath catching in her throat. Her mind raced, but she didn't reply. Not yet. She was free now, and that's all that mattered. She turned back to the burning ruins of the mansion, the final chapter of the course closing behind her. What do you think will happen to Amaka after the mansion was destroyed? Do you think the curse is truly broken? Do you believe the gods will return, or is Amaka finally free? If you are in Amaka's position, what would you have done differently? You can put that in the comment section. Let's have a little bit of a chit chat.